Good morning, Trojan Warriors. It is Dre. I'm always thankful to be with you guys. Today we are going to just jump right in. We're going to discuss how do you overcome that feeling of unstuck and how do you make sure it never happens again. So studies show that about 7 out of 10 people feel stuck in their life in some way. And so that could either be that they have a routine or that they just don't want to do anymore. Yet it's very difficult for them to be able to accomplish the new habits, the new ideals that they see for themselves. So when you are trying to figure out, do you feel stuck? Right, I'm not trying to be a psychiatrist in the sense that you come in with one problem and you leave with five, right? That's like the joke. But the overall idea that let's see where we're at, what we're trying to do, and maybe some actions that we've been taking that are creating the results in the life that we have today. Because it always comes down to the life that you have is exactly the life that you have created. And while it sounds sort of like, well, duh, it also is sort of like, whoa, I didn't really think about it that way. I didn't necessarily take that much ownership of my life. And so when you're looking at the life that you have created, you have to remember that it has to do with the mindset that you have already built. So if someone is constantly feeding like these negative thoughts about relationships and entrepreneurship, and that person could be a divorced parent, or that person could be a sibling that's been burned in a relationship, whatever that is, then don't be surprised that you have difficulty committing in a relationship. Don't be surprised that you are taking actions that create the results that you actually don't want. And we don't really link it together as often as we should. And that's part of the reason why we feel stuck. It's very difficult to unstick yourself if you are unable to recognize what the problem is. And so each of our problems, each of the results we have in our life, it is tied to the actions that we take each day. And so each of the actions we take each day, they are tied to a particular belief. So I often, when I'm talking to people, whether we're coaching one-on-one or whether we're creating financial plans, when people tell me, like, I'm like, hey, what's important to you today? And then depending on the answer, that's where we go in the conversation. And oftentimes, as you continue talking, people will be like, well, that's actually not that important to me. And they'll be like, okay, well, then, let's revisit. So what's important to you? And then we'll describe some things, and I'll be like, okay, well, based on that statement, that is aligned with what we're talking about. And what ends up happening is we often are saying things that we've either heard from someone else where that we've accepted as, well, that's acceptable, people are going to like that answer, or we are really just genuinely have convinced ourselves that what we want, i.e. the definition, the word, how you would describe it, is exactly what we feel is the result that we would, want to have. And so often what I'm really coming down to is the idea that sometimes what we're saying isn't exactly going to give us the feeling that we're looking to get. And so whether we're talking about something with relationships where we're like, oh, I want someone who enjoys the journey with me. I want someone who I can confide in, who's like my best friend and my partner. Well, there's twofold to that. One is, well, are you the person that they would want, right? That's always a really important question. And then two is, what would someone who has those feelings, beliefs, and convictions, what would they want in that sort of a scenario, right? And so what I'm getting to is if you want someone who's also has a vision, who's also a go-getter, who's also trying to change their environment and the world in general, if they are also invested in self-improvement, then you have to also understand that person is going to be striving for greatness within their own life and things that they are doing. So they may not have the time to sit and enjoy your journey because they're going on their own journey, right? So you get what I'm saying? So you can't say that I want someone who wants to enjoy my journey and kind of be my partner and come along with me, while at the same time saying that I would also like someone who challenges me in the sense that they also are striving for things, right? These are contradictory goals, and then they often create the feeling of stuck, right? If you create two contradictory positions where you are saying, I would like, to go left and I would like to go right, well, then don't be surprised that you're not going to feel that great around certain times, right? Like you're going to be like, oh, I'm going left. I feel great going left, but what about right? That's really bothering me. I really wish I could figure that out. And then when you're going right, you're like, I wish I could figure out left. So sometimes when you're feeling stuck, you have a contradictory goal. So one would be someone who says that I want to get promoted into management. I want to be able to manage a team and things like that. Well, when you list out what someone has to do to create that result, But then the person at the same time, they also want to be able to travel. They want to explore. They want to do things with their kids. They want to have a lot of free time, right? Right, like that's what it's coming down to. And then you can't do both. You have to invest in work, i.e., you have to be around. You have to go to these meetings. You have to do these projects. You have to be visible for you to be on top of mind when they are promoting people. Really, that's not surprising. But then, if you also want to do a lot of traveling, you want to spend a lot of time with your kids, and you want to have that leisure lifestyle, you want a lot of your time back. Well, then you most likely can't invest in both of them. You're going to have to let one of them go. And many times I'll say that we are sacrificing both and getting neither. Right? Like it's one of those things that I'm not saying that you can't have everything if you're willing to put in the work, but I am saying that sometimes there are some things that are pulling in opposite directions. And so when you recognize these links, then you have to be able to choose one. You have to just go ahead and choose one. That most of the time I find that when people are having difficulty, when they feel stuck, is because they're allowing themselves to be pulled left and right. And if you're being pulled both directions, well, of course you can't progress because you are stuck exactly where you are at. And so when you're also trying to figure out, okay, why would someone feel stuck? Number one, we already talked about is the idea that you have created goals that are just not really aligned with that inner drumbeat of your happiness, right? Like these goals, they've been put into you. You've seen them on TV. There are other people in your life and environment that these are their goals. And you're like, that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good. I think I would like to do that. And then you start on that journey and you realize, oh, yeah, I don't really like everything that comes along with this. And so you have to be able to take a step back and say, okay, what is it that I really want? And then explore that the same way. Okay, what would someone living that lifestyle have, and am I okay with that? Right, so that's always number one. And then number two, you want to make sure that you also understand whether my goals are contradicting each other, where it makes it very difficult for me to accomplish both of them. That I need to be able to make sure that my goals are aligned. And you may remember, right, where you have the jar, and then you have the sand, you have the bigger rocks, and you have the smaller rocks, and it really comes down to the order that you put them in. And so when you look at the bigger rocks, these are your life goals. These are things that you may only get 2 or 3 of these to accomplish in your life. And if you want to accomplish them, then you have to have medium and short-term goals that are in line with that. They have to accomplish towards that goal. You can't say my medium goals is to spend a lot of time traveling and have a lot of fun, and then my long-term goal is to be able to like leave a legacy or to be able to invest or something like that, right? Like if you want to figure out what it is that you want to accomplish in life, if you want to create a company, if you want to be promoted, if you want professional accolades and advancement and recognition, then you also have to understand, okay, that's going to change a lot of the leisure time that I have, where I'm spending a lot of my free time working in this environment, my professional half, because that means a lot to me. And you have to be able to tell yourself, like, this is a choice that I am making. I am happy to be here. This is the goal that I am striving for. This is what I want within my life. And so I often tell you when you're trying to balance things out, that it's not as much as you can say, well, I need to be off at this time every day, because there's just some days that you got to work till it gets done. But you also want to have that same mindset when it comes to your leisure, to your family, and these other things, where you do not allow work to infiltrate that day, that environment, that scenario, where you're able to say, you know what, this amount of time, I got to go hard on whatever that goal is. And then the next amount of time, you go hard on whatever that goal is. You want to block your time out. And so you want to be able to feel like I am progressing. That is what all humans desire. We desire to feel like we are growing, that we are progressing towards something. And when I find people have a difficulty admitting that, 9 out of 10 times they have a failure somewhere in their life, and then they don't want to admit that they're striving towards anything, because then that means if they don't get there, they got to admit that they fell short. And so I know that I've experienced that before when I was younger, and my weight would fluctuate, right? I'm losing weight, I'm gaining weight, I'm losing weight, I'm gaining weight. Well, when I'm on a good stride where I'm losing weight, people will say, Dre, you look great, you look like you lost some weight. And I wouldn't acknowledge that, I wouldn't accept that, because subconsciously I felt, if I gain the weight back as I've done in the past, then I have to admit that I gained the weight back. So if I don't acknowledge the loss, then I don't have to acknowledge the gain either. And that is not going to help you, because we all want progress. So if your mind is sitting there feeling like I am not progressing, or even worse, I have progressed, but I'm positive that I'm going to go backwards and I'm going to lose all of it, Well, that's an awful feeling. I mean, that's stuck 101, that you feel like everything that you do is almost a waste of time, right? Like I've lost this weight, but I'm very confident I'm going to gain it back. Well, then why do we work out in the first place? And then that's often where the conclusion is, right? Well, dang, if I worked out for 3 weeks, I lost 3 pounds, or I lost 5 pounds, or whatever I lost, and then I take off, take off a day and I gain it back. Well, that was a waste of 3 weeks. So maybe I should just go ahead and use my time differently, right? Like that is the issue that we face when we're trying to figure out, how do I not feel stuck? A part of that is setting reasonable expectations. And then the other part of that is living that Trojan lifestyle, where you are constantly putting a little bit of effort, stepping towards your greatness, chasing your happiness each and every day. That you're going to do a little something each and every day. And even if you can't go all in, even if you can't do the whole 30 minutes that you wanted, just do 5. Just walk up and down the stairs an extra 5 times, but even though you only needed to go at one time, just make sure that you take that little bit of action, because when you start seeing the results, you're immediately going to say, oh my goodness, I got to go all in. This is working. Things are going great. I've got momentum. I feel awesome. But then you actually have a gap in your momentum because you took that week off. So then you took the week off because you didn't feel great, and now you've seen the results from 2 weeks ago, and now you're trying to get back in, and then you're on that roller coaster where this week you're seeing results, this week you're not, because you have gaps in your efficiency, in your productivity, and those results are going to be lagging from the effort that you put in. Whether it's 1 week, whether it's 3 days, or whether it's a month, whatever that lag is, you have to have the faith that it's going to show results. That if we put the work in, right, we reap what we sow, it is going to happen in some way, shape, or form. And it's always important to make sure that our goals in life, that it's usually contingent on our ability to help other people. And then you want to make sure that that whatever your goal is, that it, and I hate to sound cheesy, but that it helps the greater good, right? Like there is a positive way for you to accomplish the goal that you want. And a lot of times it's mental health issues, it's hurt people. It's these things that make us think that there is no positive way to accomplish the goals that we want, but there is. There is enough in the whole world for everybody to be able to accomplish what it is they're trying to accomplish without having to destroy someone else in the process. And that'll be a mindset moment. I'm thankful for our time together. I look forward to our next chat. Continue blessings on your journey to become the champion of your dream life. And as always, better self, better wealth.